Hello everyone and welcome to this video going over the official patch 2.0 notes. Now most of the patch is the same as it was on the PTB, but there are some changes, so I will go through everything again for anyone who did not watch that video or did not know what the PTB patch notes were. Before I get into the actual patch notes, I just want to share this big announcement that the devs have, and that is starting with this patch update. Up until July 31st, anyone who logs in the game will be rewarded a one-time 1,800 iridescent shard bonus. So this just means that they are giving us a free boost in getting our shards up for getting a cosmetic or whatever you want. Just remember that this deal ends on July 31st, so make sure to log in and grab that bonus. Now let's get to the patch 2.0 changes. So first off, you will notice that the main menu screen looks different. It has been rearranged a bit. The Help and Tutorials button is now on the left side of the menus, and then on the far right is the Store page. The Daily Rituals and News has been moved to the bottom buttons, which you can still click on to see your rituals or the new news. If you go and click on the Help and Tutorials option, it takes you to this page that is split into two sections. We have the tutorials and guides. Now the guides are just all the written explanations for everything in the game, and the tutorials are the actual things that take you into your own level and you play through and do the objectives to learn the basics of the game. All you have to do to start a tutorial is click on the button. If you want to see what the full Survivor and Killer tutorials look like, I have a separate video doing a complete walkthrough of that, which I will link in the video. Now let's take a look at the Survivor and Killer UIs. So both sides are the same. You have the Shrine of Secrets no longer here because it has been moved to the store, and we have the store icon at the very bottom with a line separating it from the switch to Killer/Survivor button. So if I go to the Killer side, it looks the same. You're able to still access the store and do your blood web loadout, etc. There is one UI change that was not mentioned in the patch notes, and that is the survivor names in your lobby, as well as in-game interaction text and all the text in the actual game are actually more bold now in their font. And one last UI change is they have redesigned all the confirmation prompts. So this is any of those messages such as, leave the lobby, are you sure you want to leave the lobby? All those little windows have been updated. Another thing you will notice right away is that all of the original killers have new idle animations while in the offline lobby screen or in the store screen. So I will display all of those idle animations to you now for you to see. Now let's take a look at the store. So here we are on the store page. As you can see, we have 3 options: Character List, Oryx Cell Packs, and Shrine of Secrets. And then on the tabs on the top here, we have the extra featured section, which shows what has recently been released in Dead by Daylight. So of course, the most recent release is the Chapter 8 Curtain Call, and then the Fog Travelers Collection cosmetics that come with the new chapter. Now, if we go to the character list here, you can see the list of all the survivor and killers, both owned and not owned. If you do not own any characters, their profile picture will be grayed out. If you click on a locked character, it will tell you what their lore is as well as their teachable perks, so you can preview the character before you decide to spend shards or cells on it. Keep in mind that copyright killers cannot be bought in this way, they can only be bought in their chapters, but you will still be able to see their lore and perks. Some characters, however, are able to be purchased with a 500 Oryx Cell cost or 9,000 iridescent shards. All characters are going to be 9,000 shards or 500 Oryx Cells if you do not wish to buy the chapter itself. Now, if you click on a character you do own, you can see all the outfits available in the store for that character, and they will have their costs associated with them. So the only changes really made to the store since the PTB is that they now have all the outfits put together with all their recolors. Before, they did not have all the outfits put together yet, so you could only preview some of them. What this means for the outfit section is basically you can buy a set of 3 items, and it will be cheaper than buying each item individually. That's what all these minus 10% mean on here. It's basically 10% cheaper than if you bought each item individually. So if you like an outfit, it's better to just buy the whole thing than to go into the head and torso or leg category and buy each item separately. Now, if you see an outfit but you don't like every single part about that outfit, then you can just buy the individual item that you do like, and that would be the better option for you cost-wise. And the killers also have cosmetics as well, with the same tabs that the survivor have, with the upper body, lower body, and weapon instead of the head, torso, and legs. If you want to see all the cosmetics that are in this store, I have a video showing you all of the cosmetics. The only thing that's different is that it is footage from the PTB, so it does not have all the outfits put together, but it does have every single cosmetic that is in the store. So I will link that here for you. Now let's take a look at the other tabs in the store. So the next tab is the Oryx Cell Packs. And as you can see, we have the 500, 1100, 2250, 4025, and 6000 packs. Now, what this percentage at the top means, on the includes plus whatever percent, what it basically means is that you get more Oryx cells for what you pay. So say you buy 2 of the 500 packs. That would be 1,000 cells for $10. Or you could spend $10 and get 100 additional cells in this second pack. So each higher pack would get you more bang for your buck than if you bought multiples of the lower pack. And then the final tab here is the Shrine of Secrets. Now the Shrine of Secrets is unavailable at the moment, and it will become available again once the patch is live on all platforms. The Shrine of Secrets will act the same way as it did before, with the teachable perks being available for purchase here. The only thing is that the cost has been increased to 2,700 iridescent shards for new perks and 2,000 shards for old perks. And then when you buy these perks from the Shrine of Secrets, you will get less blood points now, because you will now only get 200,000 blood points for new perks and 150,000 blood points for old perks. And the reason they nerfed how many blood points you get is because it's way easier to get iridescent shards, so you will be able to basically buy out the entire shrine a lot easier than you would have in the past. And that is the store page. Now, onto how do you get iridescent shards in order to buy stuff from the store page. So there is a new mechanic in the game called your player level. And this player level represents the overall progression of your account. So all characters that you play, whether killer or survivor, contribute to your player level. Now this player level works similar to how levels work in other games, where you need to achieve a certain amount of experience in order to go up a level. Once you go up one level, you are awarded iridescent shards, and this player level is basically the way you're going to be earning shards from now on. So every time you level up, you are rewarded shards, and the amount of shards is dependent on what your level is. The higher your level, the more shards you get. Additionally, experience per level does increase over time, but what I found is that it does not increase after every single level. It increases every level from 1 to 3 so far, and then it stays at the same experience until level 6. What I got is that from levels 3 to 5, you needed to get 1200 XP to level up, and then when you hit level 6, it increases to 2100 XP. And I'm sure this will remain consistent for a few more levels before increasing again. So what determines how much experience you get during a game? Well, the length of the game, as well as if it's the first game of the day or not, and what emblems you have earned for that game will determine how much experience you get. There is a max level to this player level, and that is level 100. Once you reach level 100, I'm not sure if you're going to get this as an option or you basically have to level up again, but you will be given an option or something will be done to devote your account. It's called devotion. And this acts like prestige, where it resets your player level to level 1, but every time you level up, you will get more shards per level. So if you manage to go through this player level a bunch of times, you can get a ton of shards just by playing a few games. I will be making a video about the player level once I know more about how the system works. A new killer and survivor have been introduced to us in this patch with the Chapter 8 A Curtain Calls. So the new killer is the Clown, and the new survivor is Kate Denson. I have a video that shows all their perks and the killer's power, if you want to check that out. Everything is about the same as it was on the PTB. The only thing is that some of his add-ons were adjusted in their values. Now for the change that everyone wants to know about, and that is the palette change. So for pallets, they basically removed the palette vacuum, because survivors would basically teleport to the other side of the palette if they sprinted at a pallet and pressed spacebar. So now, what survivors will do is they won't throw the pallet until their survivor physically reaches the other side of the pallet while running. Now, you will still be able to throw the pallet in front of you and all that, so do not worry. The only thing they did was remove the pallet vacuum. And yes, that was a bug on the PTB where when you were holding shift, you could not throw the pallet if you were on the same side of the pallet and did not go through it. So now when you hold shift, the pallet interaction stays up. And to give you guys a little clarity on, I guess, the specific mechanics of the pallet, they said, the way survivors drop pallets has changed. The interaction is now input-based rather than velocity/direction-based. If you want to drop a pallet from a standstill, you simply need to be on the right side of the pallet that you would like to stay after dropping the pallet, and press the drop pallet interaction key. If you would like to drop the pallet on the opposite side of you, as there is no longer a vacuum to take you from one side to the other, you must run through the pallet and press the drop pallet interaction key when you are on the other side of the pallet. And then one last thing is they adjusted the dimensions of the pallet stun hitbox because the hitbox was larger on one side than the other side, and so this just makes pallets more balanced. There is a new Dwight cosmetic that has been added for anyone who owns or buys the Leatherface DLC. It's basically just a free cosmetic you get in addition to the Leatherface killer, and it's basically a beat up Dwight. So if you have the Leatherface DLC or you think about buying it, you will get it for free. Now let's go over some of the small balance changes. So for all characters, they have adjusted the level requirements for unlocking perk slots. The 2nd, 3rd, and 4th perk slots will now unlock at levels 5, 10, and 15 respectively, down from 15, 20, 25. And all characters now start with their 3 personal perks unlocked by default at level 1. So this way, if you're a new person in the game, you can test out a survivor's perks without having to go through that process of unlocking them at levels 5, 10, and 15. You can see if you like the survivor's perks before you invest your points in them. And one more thing is, if you hover over a perk that is someone's teachable perk, it actually now says the name of the character who owns that perk, which is really cool. So if you're a new survivor, or even if you are a new killer, and you don't know what this perk is when you hover over it, it tells you who it comes from, which is really nice. A lot of quality of life improvements here for new players. They have removed the possibility of Doctor and Hag splinters in the Blood Web, because these characters can now be purchased for iridescent shards. And for some killer-specific changes, they adjusted the red aura intensity for killers on totems, bear traps, hooks, and generators to make those auras a bit easier to read, because I do admit that orange aura made it really annoying to try and find those hex totems at times. Then for a survivor-specific balance change, they removed the acceleration curve when the survivor gets hit by a killer, because by removing this acceleration curve, it will allow you to control your speed boost better. So after getting hit by the killer, you don't run smack into a wall or anything. You'll actually be able to have more control over where you go. Now for some other killer-specific adjustments made in this patch. For killers, they changed hook auras to always be visible from the killer's standpoint while carrying a survivor, because before, hook auras only showed if hidden behind other objects. And they decreased the range of activation for killer pickup interaction. So basically, you know how there was a pallet vacuum? Well, there was also a pickup vacuum, and so they got rid of that as well. For the Wraith, they made it so that the Wraith's red stain and terror radius will immediately cease to exist after the Wraith is done with his action. So this means when the Wraith is kicking a pallet or kicking a generator, you will hear the heartbeat and see the red stain, but as soon as he finishes the interaction, it will disappear. This also goes for his cloaking animation. And they also decreased Wraith flashlight uncloak stun from 4 seconds to 3 seconds. Bloodlust on Hillbilly has been fixed so that it no longer resets at the end of his chainsaw. It will now always reset at the start of his chainsaw. Next are the Huntress fixes. First, they fixed an issue that caused blood spatters to appear on the Huntress's screen when hitting someone with a hatchet, and they fixed mini collisions on various maps, so Huntress hatchets can now go over them, such as the pickup trucks on Autohaven maps. So you will now be able to actually get those hatchet hits that look like they should hit. And the final killer that got fixes is the Doctor, and his fix was for his hallucinations, which will now match whatever cosmetic he is wearing, which is very important for him since that is a very important part of his power. And his hallucinations now have the new animation to them, where they are kind of hunched over with their weapon being bounced up and down, like they're gonna get ready to hit you, basically kind of what the Doctor looks like in his punishment mode. So he could potentially catch you off guard if you're in a chase and the hallucination appears in the perfect spot. And those are the killer fixes. Some survivor perks saw adjustments in this patch. The first being Dead Hard, which has a new animation to it, so it is more clear when it activates. And they removed the speed boost of Dead Hard while in the air to fix a variety of exploits on maps. Because, as many of you know, you could use Dead Hard to bounce off of objects and go into crazy places. So you no longer get a speed boost if you are going through the air, it's only while you're on the ground. Balanced landing got buffed in this patch because it now says stagger effects are reduced by 75% at all tiers without cooldown. And then all tiers also get the sprint for 150% for 3 seconds. The only thing that changes between tiers now is how long the exhaustion timer is. So it's the same as all exhaustion perks, it's 60, 50, 40. So that is a nice buff to balanced landing. And finally, Stakeout's progression is no longer lost when consuming a token. There were also some minor map adjustments that occurred, such as adjustments of pallet loops on the Macmillan, Coldwind Farms, and Autohaven Records maps, as well as placement of totems being changed, and there's being new placements of totems on these maps. Just a lot of minor map changes, which you can read about all in the patch notes. And finally, they also made tons of adjustments to the number values and how you are awarded blood points throughout a match. And then they also changed a lot of emblem values to balance the emblems out. There was also a minor adjustment to the emblems in-game, and that is when you are on the emblem awarded screen, they have a sound now for when they appear. And then there was a lot of bug fixing going on. So if you want to read the full patch notes, I have included a link to them in the description below. I hope you found this video informative, and thank you very much for watching. As always, good luck out there in the fog, and see you next time.